So this installment is the third video of my instructional videos on handguns. If you guys missed the first three videos, feel free to go back, check them out. It'll help you guys out with some of the wording I'm going to be using. This video is going to be geared towards the beginner type shooter. I'm going to dabble in hypotheticals and examples that may not be technically correct. Also, terminology may be incorrect. And there's always room to learn, guys. So, by all means, I'm not the end-all expert in this. As the name implies, a double-action, single-action handgun are a combination between the functions of a double-action only and a single-action only pistol. Let's look at how the most common revolvers incorporate them first, and then we'll go into the hammer-fired and a little bit into the striker-fired. So, representing the double-action, single-action revolver is the Smith & Wesson Model 19 here. With the example we used in the single action video, our revolver hammer needs to be cocked somehow. In that single action, we simply pulled this back, and then we pulled our trigger. If you think back to our double action, the first and simplest way to do this is by pulling the trigger. The two stages we discussed before in the double action. The first position of the trigger pull is going to cock the hammer, and the second final portion is going to be release that hammer or fire our pistol. As we see, we have that long trigger pull. It's going to cock our hammer, and then it's going to release it once it gets to that cock position and fire. For more accurate shots and a lighter trigger pull, because this is a double action, single action, or single action, double action, whichever you prefer, we have the ability to manipulate this handgun into a double action or a single action only roll. We can simply cock our hammer back, which is going to take away that longer trigger pull we had before and only assign a single action of releasing our hammer. So all we're going to need to do is pull our trigger, and we're going to fire our pistol. To recock it, all we do is simply reach back, pull our hammer back, pull our trigger, fire our pistol. The linkage inside the pistol maintains the ability for us to use both actions, the double action and the single action, without physically changing anything. So I can pull our trigger, and then I can pull our hammer back, whichever I prefer. With the double action, single action revolver discussed, let's go into the double action, single action hammer-fired semi-automatic pistol. So for the double action, single action hammer-fired semi-automatic pistol, yeah, that's a mouthful. For this example, we're going to use the Beretta M9 again. I can easily show you guys the double action with the hammer-fired pistol, just like the Smith & Wesson. Double action only with the Beretta is going to simply pull back our hammer by the first task assigned to our trigger pull. The second task is going to be releasing our hammer and firing our pistol. This is where the semi-automatic function of modern handguns comes in. With the round firing, the recoil of that round is going to pull our slide back. It's going to cock our hammer for us in that single action mode. It's going to come back forward, and you see that our hammer is held back. This is in essence the same thing as if we were to reach back and physically cock our hammer, just like on our revolver. The nice thing about this is we're going to have a lighter trigger pull for that second follow-up shot. Our hammer is going to contact our firing pin, which is going to fire our pistol, drawing our slide back, loading another round, puts us back into that single action mode. Say, for instance, we had a round that did not fire. Since we have that double action, the simple task of pulling our trigger back through that heavy trigger pull, the first task assigned to that double action is going to be to cock the hammer, and to release the hammer is the second action in that double action. Once again, we have the added benefit of the ability of the double strike on the round that may not have gone off. We also have the ability to carry the pistol loaded with a round in the chamber with no manual safety, but relying on that heavy trigger pull. And we have the added benefit of the single action after the firearm has gone off. The single action of that nice light trigger pull is going to be better accuracy. That is the double action, single action, hammer-fired, semi-automatic pistol. Let's discuss a little bit of the double action, single action, semi-automatic, striker-fired pistol. So I'm going to leave the Beretta up here because it's going to help me out a little bit. And once again, if you guys watched my last video, I do not have a double action striker-fired handgun. They aren't really predominant. They do exist, but for the most part, they're a little bit obscure. So as we look here at the Springfield, if we think back to the double action, the first task that would be assigned, just like our Beretta's hammer, is going to be our internal striker, or our firing pin inside the Springfield. I'm going to use my punch here to simulate what the striker would be doing. So with the first portion of our double action trigger pull, we're going to cock our hammer, or our striker here. We're going to finish through, and once we pull that trigger all the way through, we'll release that striker because it is held underneath spring tension, which is going to impact our round and fire our pistol off. That recoil is going to come back and it's going to charge our pistol or our striker. It's going to cock it and put it into that cocked position like we talked about in the single action only. With our striker in the rearmost position, we'll pull our trigger, which is going to release our striker, in turn firing our pistol and initiating that firing sequence over again to cock our hammer. We have the benefit, just like in the Beretta, the ability to pull our trigger again, which will cock our hammer in the essence of the Beretta, the striker in the essence of the Springfield, and we'll have that double strike round capability as well. In the conclusion, we talked about the double action, single action revolver, hammer fired, and striker fired handguns. In relation to the motion of the trigger in all three handguns, it completes the two stages. The first, drawing the hammer back and striking the round, or the striker fire, drawing the striker back and releasing it to fire the round. And then it goes into our single action mode, which is then to simply release our hammer or our striker in a single action. It's my hope that this series of videos helped you guys out in getting a little bit more information, or at least pushing you guys to find out a little bit more. I know I'm not the greatest speaker here, and I know I don't have the best technology, but I like to put out videos that I'm interested in, or I would like to know more about, and give you guys a little bit more of a knowledge base whenever you're going out and buying something, or if you're looking at a particular item here. By all means, guys, if you like what you saw and you liked some of the information here, please like or subscribe. It really motivates me to put more videos out there, and I'm always going to more shooting matches, so keep a lookout for those as well.